Hey guys, how we doing? So we're back at another Kage video. A few of you suggested this one. I think it'd be quite interesting. This is how to fix Naruto's war arc. Now he has done a how Naruto should have ended video, and I think we'll do that one next. Yeah, that's on my list next actually. I just think this would be interesting. It's always nice to get like a little, ooh, what if they did this, or what if they did that, or you know, if things were a little bit differently, things would play out differently kind of scenario, and yeah. It's nothing too complex. It's not like two people fighting each other and people arguing in the comment section about who would actually win. We're just going to see what Kage thinks was needed to fix Naruto's war arc. Now, I don't think it was terrible, but I'm sure it could. Everything could be meddled around with. Let's just get into this. How to fix Naruto's war arc.
So this was originally going to be a video about how to fix the end of Naruto, and I'm talking about the stuff with Kaguya, Sage, Madara, and all of that. But as I started making the video, I got into how the war arc needed to be altered a bit in order for the ending to be as good as it could be, and then I realized that I ended up talking about how to fix the war arc for the length of a whole video.
Did do that
I decided, fuck it, let's just make an entire video out of this topic, and I'll make a video about the very end of Naruto some other time.
Alright.
It'll be like a part 2.
Oh, cool.
Right? Anyway,
that works out, doesn't it?
Getting right into this, I know this isn't a wholly original video topic. Like, there have been 1,000,000,001 people who have talked about how Kishimoto could have fixed the war arc, how the war arc could have been better. You know, like, it's probably a stale conversation topic for those of you who frequent forums and just talk about Naruto on the internet in general. I get that, but it's something I've been wanting to talk about for a really long time. And since a lot of people have been asking me what I think of Naruto's ending, and I think that the war arc needs to be overhauled but not changed entirely in order for Naruto's ending to be better, I figured I might as well make this video. So
okay, so
to
affect the ending, certain things have
but
to
hopefully you'll enjoy the video
plan out differently.
One thing I need to make clear is that I get what Kishimoto was going for, and I do like the vision he had for the end of the series, but he made a lot of bad decisions leading up to the ending, and I think they started right about as soon as the 5 Kage Summit ended. If not for these bad decisions, I think the end of the series could have been executed much better than it was. Because of that, I'm going to be going all the way back to the beginning of the war arc and talking about how pretty much all of this needs to be completely changed. Now again, like I just said, the same basic story structure can be applied to it. I'm fine with all of the key plot points. Obito declares war, Kabuto allies with him with an army of Edo Tensei ninja, Madara gets revived, the Ten Tails gets revived, so on and so forth. That's all fine, but pretty much everything else about the war arc sucks. The first big problem is that there were way too many people involved in this conflict for it to be at all compelling. Now, there were many really cool moments.
Did keep going into a lot of different scenarios.
On having big armies there, so that all of their members could be taken out at once. The best example being when Madara was revived, and he took out the entire 4th Division by himself. But, see, the problem isn't really with the good guys having too many people. The main problem is that Kabuto revived way too many ninja with Edo Tensei. And so there were so many antagonists on the other side at once that it was impossible to feel any significant amount of attachment to any of the fights. Because, like, for example, does anybody really want to watch Darui fight Kinkaku and Ginkaku?
No one cares.
Does anybody really care about Hiyashi Hyuga versus Hizashi Hyuga?
No.
I'm pretty sure the answer is no. So this problem can obviously be solved by heavily cutting back on the amount of people Kabuto chooses to revive. At the very least, if only because it'd be a bit hard for him to come across like thousands of living human sacrifices to use for the jutsu. I don't know, I'm pretty sure Kishimoto could come up with some way to justify Kabuto not having a gigantic army at his disposal. It'd definitely
it'd be cool to have more like really powerful people that everyone needs to focus on fighting. I don't really think who he chooses to revive in particular matters all that much, as long as he keeps the army small. Of course, to offset this, he'd need to make sure that everybody he does bring back is really strong. Kishimoto would need to make sure that despite the army's smaller size, it still feels imposing. But as long as he abides by these 2 rules, I don't really think I could ask for much more. Now that said, I do have a handful of people in mind who I think should be revived no matter what. The Akatsuki, the Jinchuriki, and the previous Kage are all no-brainers. Kabuto brought them back in the original series, and I can't see any reason for him not to do that. They're all incredibly powerful, and they're invaluable assets to him. I also think he should still bring back a couple legendary shinobi like Hanzo and Chio. Maybe Kimimaro as well, since he was a former Orochimaru henchman, and thus his DNA would be pretty readily available. But really, the people he decides to keep don't really matter as long as matters for story-wise.
There are a couple people I think he should revive in addition to this, and those are Jiraiya, Shisui, Danzo, Konan, a few additional Kage, like the 3rd Kazekage in particular, and maybe a handful of extra legendary shinobi, like Fugaku Uchiha, or Sakumo Hatake. I don't want to spend too much time focusing on the Edo Tensei army specifically. Let me briefly go over why I chose these
Asshole.
characters in particular. I know I definitely need to justify Jiraiya and Shisui because Kabuto specifically said in the series he couldn't bring either of them back, and I know he couldn't, but it doesn't have to be that way. Like, if he was able to justify reviving Madara, whose body shouldn't have even been in the leaf, like, I was under the impression that he left a shadow clone in his casket, not his real body, then surely he'd be able to find a way to revive Jiraiya or Shisui. I don't really care how Kishimoto justifies it as long as he brings Jiraiya back. His interactions with Naruto and Tsunade would be really emotionally touching,
it would.
I think.
It really would.
Definitely be an invaluable asset to Kabuto's army.
It would,
Shisui and
wouldn't it?
Naruto don't really matter all that much. I just think they'd be really nice additions to Kabuto's army, but if Kishimoto doesn't want to have them revived, then whatever. I do think Konan needs to be revived, though. I think she was a wasted character, because she never got an opportunity to shine. In the Pain arc, she was constantly under the shadow of Nagato. He hogged all of the spotlight throughout that entire arc, and then the only other time we ever got to see her was when Obito killed her. So having her revived and doing a bunch of cool shit in the war arc as an Edo Tensei soldier would definitely make a bunch of Conan fans happy and would go a long way to keep her from feeling like she was wasted. The other people don't particularly matter. The only reason I mention Fugaku is because he's powerful, and on top of that, I think hearing about his revival would be enough to push Sasuke over the edge and cut his ties with Obito completely. Because in the original series, that felt a little bit stilted. Like, it didn't feel natural for him to do it. So having a moment where he learns about the revival of both his older brother and his father at the hands of Kabuto, somebody who's currently allied with Obito, thus leading him to silently break off his alliance with Obito, would be a much less confusing way to have Sasuke switch alignments. Sakuma's there because according to lore, he's like supposedly fucking Sannin level or something. At the very least, his reputation exceeds that of the Sannin. This doesn't necessarily mean he's more powerful. Another reason is because I'd certainly enjoy a heartfelt, emotional scene where Kakashi has to fight his father.
It'd be better, I suppose, take Zabuza out of it,
really,
replace the Kakashi-Zabuza fight with that.
Compact, intimidating, and full of interesting characters, then there's nothing more I can really ask for. So moving on from the Edo Tensei army itself, a couple things that need to change in the war arc overall. A lot more people need to die. And I'm talking main characters too. I also think since Kabuto's Edo Tensei army was smaller, that each of the battles involving his Edo Tensei soldiers need to be much more intimate and interesting. Like, for example, give Tsunade a moment where she hears that Hanzo's been resurrected. She'd shit herself and immediately ask to be deployed to the battlefield. And it'd be really cool to see Hanzo wiping the floor with everybody before Tsunade shows up, where she uses the fact that she's the only person on the battlefield with experience fighting against this guy to slowly turn the tide of the battle against him. It'd be an awesome character moment for somebody in dire need of one, and I think focusing on developing his characters, giving them cool moments, making the audience grow more attached to them, and things of that nature would be much more effective at making the war arc more entertaining than simply trying to create cool-looking fights and expand on the universe's lore. I also think to put the Allied Shinobi forces at a disadvantage, it'd be smart to have a bunch of internal bickering. We saw this at the beginning of the war arc when the Allied Shinobi forces were forming their military, but for some reason, all of the animosity between members of separate villages seemed to disappear solely because Gaara gave a speech or something. Like, what? No, come on. Everybody shouldn't
Come on now, everybody, get along. Oh, okay.
Spice things up a bit. Have disagreements between high-ranking military officials from different villages. Have some shinobi refuse to fight because they don't want to put their lives on the line just to protect two Jinchuriki. One plot point that Kishimoto seemed to forget is that most of the world viewed the Jinchuriki as freaks. That's true, in the story. There should be some members of the Hidden Leaf Village who, despite the fact that Naruto saved them from Pain, feel bitter about the fact that Pain destroyed their village to capture him in the first place, and decide that they don't want to put their lives on the line just to protect him again. Besides, you wouldn't even have to make the army that much smaller to justify having a bunch of its members killed by Kabuto's Edo Tensei army. As a matter of fact, just 2 arcs prior to this one, we saw Pain single-handedly wipe out everyone in the Leaf Village just using the 6 Paths of Pain. So with the whole of the Akatsuki at his disposal, plus a handful of previous generation Kage and a bunch of other legendary shinobi, Kabuto would be able to wreak havoc on the allied shinobi forces. And it'd be cool to see disagreements cause people to die, to cause the 5 great nations to lose battles, make the arc feel gritty, give it an overwhelming sense of danger like part 1 of Naruto had. I think if Kishimoto focused on doing all of these things, he would have made the war arc significantly more entertaining, especially if he placed a more heavy emphasis on the tactical and strategic side of combat that you generally see in the midst of war. Seeing the extent of Kabuto and Obito's craftiness would be awesome. For example, a cool scene would be having Kabuto send a reanimated Shisui into the allied shinobi forces headquarters building, then having Shisui cast Koto Matsukami on Inoichi, forcing him to transmit orders to a platoon of ninja that ends up getting them killed. Something like that. Use Nagato's Rinnegan to gather intelligence from members of the allied shinobi forces. Give us scenes of the present-day Kage thinking of ways to take out the former Kage, especially considering the huge combat advantage Edo Tensei provides in its regenerative ability. It'd be really difficult for them to take out these ancient powerhouses without figuring out some kind of strategy, and this goes for just about all of the enemies that everybody's previously encountered. A handful of scenes of people thinking of ways to beat these former enemies is something that I'd be open to at least, and I'm sure that plenty of other viewers would be as well. The biggest problem with the War Arc is it just felt like a series of disconnected fights, with barely any tactical depth inserted at all. It was just really boring to sit through, unfortunately. See, even when Naruto has narrative flaws or really frustrating problems, it's still at the very least entertaining to sit through, but I can't say the same about the War Arc. So hopefully all of the fixes that I've listed here would do at least something to make the arc more entertaining, which would make the arcs that follow it, the Ten Tails arc, the Jubito arc, Sage Madara arc, and Kaguya arc, all at least a little bit more entertaining now that they have a much stronger foundation. So hopefully you agreed with me, though if not, feel free to let me know what you disagreed with in the comments below. If you have any other ideas for how the War Arc could have been improved, of course, let me know in the comments as well. But try to hold off on post-Madara Resurrection comments. I'm going to be talking about all the stuff that followed his appearance in the series in a separate video detailing how I think Naruto should have ended. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, until that video drops, this is going to be all from me. So love you guys. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. And until my next video, I'll talk to you later. Suikage out. Bye.
Fair days. Yeah. Would have liked some zappers or love, but whatever. No, I like that though. So obviously, because the Zabuza fight was Kakashi, wasn't it? Which is a nice little throwback to how it started. But take out Zabuza and have Kakashi's dad. That'd be better, and it could go on for longer and be more emotional and have more to it. And yeah, the less fights and the more like personal they make them, the better that would have been as well. Yeah, some decent changes there, I suppose. I haven't really got a problem with the War Arc, but he does have some very valid points on how like the fights don't really have much of a stake to them. More people dying would have made it more tense, and yeah, cool. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. What did you guys think of that? What did you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos, and I'll see you guys. It's all of you guys next time.